Deep within the pitch-black waters of the underground Amazon, a predator hunts without eyes. It tracks its prey through electrical pulses. Then, it liquefies its organs from the inside out. For decades, modern biology assumed the apex predators of the world's largest rainforest were fully documented. But recent deep-water sonar expeditions and subterranean exploration have revealed a terrifying reality. An entirely unmapped ecosystem of stealth predators has been operating completely undetected. It is happening right beneath the world's most studied wilderness. How did these highly specialized killers manage to remain hidden from science for millions of years? And what happens now that they are beginning to emerge? If you enjoy real scientific mysteries and evidence-based documentaries, subscribe to Epoch Unknown, because what you're about to see only gets stranger. The Amazon basin covers over 2 million square miles. Most people view it as a flat jungle teeming with jaguars and caimans, but biologists look at it differently. They see a massive, multi-layered survival matrix. Here, the most dangerous zones are completely invisible from the surface. The rainforest canopy is just the first layer of defense. Beneath that canopy lies a dense, humid underworld of soil and roots. But even deeper, underneath the massive root systems, sits the true final frontier of South American biology. The main channel of the Amazon River is not just wide, it is astonishingly deep. It plunges down more than 300 feet in certain hidden sectors. At those extreme depths, sunlight vanishes entirely within the first few meters. The water becomes a thick, swirling soup of suspended mud, heavy clay, and organic debris. It is a world of permanent, absolute darkness. The pressure at the riverbed is immense, constantly grinding rock and crushing bone. For a long time, researchers believed nothing substantial could survive the crushing current and zero visibility of the lower riverbed. But that assumption was shattered. Specialized deep river trawlers, equipped with armored steel nets designed for oceanic trenches, pulled a creature from the mud that defied classification. It was completely blind. It lacked any form of pigmentation, appearing translucent and ghost-like under laboratory lights. Most importantly, it possessed an array of hypersensitive electrical receptors along its elongated skull. This was not a regular fish. It was a highly evolved, subterranean hunter, designed to track living heartbeats through total darkness. Every living creature emits a faint bioelectrical field when its muscles contract or its heart pumps blood. This blind predator intercepts those signals from dozens of yards away. But how did an apex predator adapt to a world with zero light? And what else is down there hunting alongside it? The discovery of deep channel specialists forced biologists to rethink the entire structure of the Amazonian food web. In the upper world, predators rely on sight, camouflage, and explosive speed. In the deep river, survival requires something far more sinister. It requires biological tools that operate beyond human comprehension. Consider the payara, often called the vampire fish by local fishermen. Most travelers only encounter young, smaller specimens near the sunlit riverbanks where the water is calm. But deep within the main river channels, where the current is violent, massive adults grow to over 3 feet in length. They possess 2 massive, dagger-like fangs that can exceed 6 inches in length. These teeth do not just tear flesh. They are designed with a terrifying, flawless biological perfection. The payara's upper skull contains specialized internal cavities. When the mouth closes, these 6-inch fangs slide completely up inside the creature's own head, passing right next to its brain. This prevents the fish from piercing its own jaws when it snaps its mouth shut. Sonar tracking shows that these giants do not hunt in the shallows. They patrol the deep, turbulent undercurrents, waiting for prey to be swept down by the sheer force of the river. They strike from below, impaling their targets directly through the skull before the prey even registers danger. The speed of the strike is so intense that the impact alone often breaks the spine of the victim. Yet, scientists quickly realized the payara is only a mid-level threat in the grand design of the deep river system. Something else was disrupting the local fish populations, leaving behind clean, completely hollowed-out carcasses with no visible bite marks or external tearing. What kind of predator kills its prey without leaving a single open wound on the exterior of the body? The answer came from a team of international researchers investigating the phenomenon of internal predation. They discovered that the most feared killer in the deep Amazon is not the largest monster. It is actually one of the smallest. It is the candiru, a parasitic catfish, traditionally known for its rare, accidental attacks on human swimmers. But in the deep river channels, away from human contact, the candiru operates as a terrifyingly efficient apex predator of larger marine life. It tracks its prey by detecting chemical trails in the water. It looks specifically for the traces of urea and ammonia expelled through fish gills during respiration. In the pitch black, the candiru matches the speed of a passing giant catfish. It slips silently inside its gill chamber and locks itself in place using sharp, backward-facing spines that pierce the sensitive gill tissue. Once secured, it uses its razor-sharp teeth to pierce a major artery. The host fish cannot fight back. It has no hands to scratch the parasite out, and it cannot reach the inside of its own gills. Within hours, a school of these tiny predators can drain a 100-pound fish entirely from the inside out, leaving nothing but a ghost-white skeleton drifting in the current. But what puzzled evolutionary biologists was how this hyper-specialized hunting mechanism developed. DNA sequencing revealed that the candiru split from common catfish lineages millions of years ago. It evolved alongside prehistoric river monsters that are now completely extinct. This means their hunting strategy was perfected over deep time. But as researchers mapped the genetic history of these riverbed killers, they ran into a bizarre anomaly. The data suggested that some of these species did not originate in the river at all. They came from a source much deeper inside the earth. To understand where these anomalies came from, scientists had to look far beyond the surface water. Geologists studying the Amazon basin discovered something incredible beneath the heavy forest floor. Thousands of feet below the actual Amazon River lies a massive, slow-moving underground aquifer known as the Hamza River. This subterranean current flows through highly porous rock, stretching across the entire width of South America. It is a completely dark, high-pressure environment that has been sealed away from the atmosphere for millions of years. When deep drilling operations and cave explorations began probing the edges of this subterranean network, they found signs of life, not just simple bacteria, but complex, multicellular organisms. Biologists discovered specialized cave systems flanking the Amazon basin, where the rules of evolution have been completely inverted. In these hidden caverns, the top of the food chain is occupied by things that shouldn't exist in the modern world. One of the most terrifying examples is the Amazonian giant centipede. It is a predatory invertebrate that grows to over 12 inches long and possesses a highly toxic venom cocktail. But it is their behavior, not just their physical size, that shocked researchers. These invertebrates do not crawl on the jungle floor like standard centipedes. They have migrated into the pitch-black limestone caverns connected to the underground waterways. They hang by their hind legs from the high cave ceilings, dangling into the open air in absolute darkness. When bats fly past in the dark, the centipede launches its upper body into the air with explosive coordination. It catches the bat mid-flight using its heavy claws and immediately injects a neurotoxin that stops the mammal's heart in seconds. This unexpected shift from ground-dwelling insect to aerial cave predator demonstrates how aggressively life in the hidden sectors of the Amazon adapts. But the mystery deepened when scientists analyzed the venom of these cave-dwelling giants. The chemical composition was completely different from their surface-dwelling relatives. It contained unique proteins designed specifically to counteract the nervous systems of warm-blooded mammals with extreme speed. This indicates that these predators have been specializing in cave system hunting for a very long time. But what happens when these isolated underground ecosystems collide with the surface world? During the annual monsoon season, the Amazon undergoes a dramatic transformation known as the flood. The river levels rise by more than 30 feet, submerging tens of millions of acres of forest. This massive influx of water creates a temporary bridge between the deep, dark river channels, the underground cave systems, and the surface jungle. The boundaries that keep these hidden predators isolated completely dissolve. For several months out of the year, the creatures of the deep riverbed and the subterranean caverns ascend into the flooded forest canopy. They find themselves hunting in an environment filled with terrestrial animals, that have absolutely no evolutionary defense against them. During these floods, researchers utilizing underwater cameras have documented terrifying interactions. Predators that usually spend their entire lives in the mud at the bottom of the river are suddenly found swimming through the branches of submerged trees, 30 feet above the ground. This is where the blackwater zones become incredibly hazardous. Blackwater rivers, like the Rio Negro, are highly acidic and stained the color of dark tea by decaying vegetation. Visibility is close to zero. In these waters, standard hunting methods fail completely. This is the domain of the giant otter. It is a creature that sounds harmless, but is known to locals as the river wolf. While most people are familiar with small, playful sea otters, the Amazonian giant otter grows to over 6 feet long. They hunt in highly coordinated family packs, resembling a wolf pack of the water. They are so aggressive that they regularly kill and eat large anacondas and caimans. But what scientists recently discovered about their hunting strategy in blackwater zones surprised everyone. They do not rely on sight. Their whiskers are packed with an unprecedented density of nerve endings. This allows them to detect the microscopic displacement of water caused by a fish swimming dozens of yards away. They can map an entire submerged forest using touch alone. They coordinate their attacks using a complex language of vocalizations, completely surrounding their prey in the dark before closing in for the kill. But as deep water research continued, an even greater conflict emerged among scientists. Some biologists argue that the real apex predators of the deep Amazon are not mammals or large fish, but macro-insects that have weaponized evolutionary biomechanics. In the dense, pitch-black root systems of the lower riverbed, researchers recently documented the hunting behavior of the giant water bug, Lethoceras. Growing up to 5 inches, this invertebrate does not chase its prey. It remains completely motionless, blending perfectly with decaying wood until a young caiman or venomous snake passes by. In a fraction of a second, it locks the victim in a vice grip with its front legs and injects a massive dose of digestive enzymes through its needle-like beak. This biochemical cocktail liquefies the prey's internal organs while it is still alive, allowing the insect to drink the liquefied interior. This is a cold, calculated apex predator that bypasses the need for massive jaws by turning its prey's own biology into mush. But what worried researchers was the discovery of similar toxic properties adapting inside much smaller organisms deep within the subterranean river paths. Biologists recently identified a species of parasitic nematode living in the deep mud of the Amazon riverbed that targets large river catfish. When the nematode enters the fish, it alters the host's behavior. It forces it to swim up from the safe, dark depths into the shallow, sunlit waters where it becomes easy prey for birds and caimans. The parasite intentionally sacrifices its host to ensure it gets passed up the food chain into its next life cycle stage. This discovery challenged the traditional definition of an apex predator. If a tiny worm can control the actions of a 90-pound river monster, who is truly at the top of the food chain? The stakes of this research rose dramatically when satellite imaging and deep-core drilling began revealing how rapidly these ancient ecosystems are changing. The Amazon is not a static environment. It is shifting due to climate patterns and human encroachment. As the deep channels dry up or warm up, these ancient, specialized hunters are being pushed out of their historical habitats. They are moving into areas where they are encountering human populations for the first time. The strongest scientific evidence regarding these shifts comes from hydroacoustic monitoring stations placed along the main river stems.
These underwater microphones have picked up a massive increase in unidentified low-frequency sounds coming from the deepest trenches of the river. These are not the sounds of machinery or geological movement. They are biological acoustic signatures.
Some scientists believe these sounds are mating calls or territory markers from a species of giant freshwater ray that has never been captured by science. We know that the Amazon is home to freshwater stingrays that grow to massive sizes, armed with venomous barbs that can easily inflict fatal wounds. But the acoustic data suggests something much larger is moving through the deep trenches. The sheer volume of water displaced by these movements indicates an animal of immense mass, adapted to a life of high pressure and zero light. Attempts to capture or photograph these deep-trenched giants have repeatedly failed because standard equipment cannot withstand the combination of extreme current, high debris, and total darkness. The mystery remains open, a glaring reminder of how little we know about the world beneath our feet. But the most unexpected twist occurred when a team of international geneticists conducted an environmental DNA survey of the Amazon River system. Environmental DNA, or eDNA, involves taking a sample of water and sequencing all the loose genetic material floating within it. Every animal sheds skin cells, blood, and waste into the water, leaving a permanent genetic fingerprint. When the results from the deep water samples came back, the scientific community was stunned. Nearly 15% of the DNA sequences recovered from the deep trenches did not match any known species on Earth. They were completely unique genetic profiles, distinctly ancient, yet unmistakably alive and active in the modern river system. This was not the DNA of extinct fossils. This was fresh genetic material from living creatures currently breathing and hunting in the deep Amazon. The data indicated that these mystery species belong to lineages that split from known animal families during the Cretaceous period, around the time the dinosaurs went extinct. This means the deep trenches of the Amazon have been acting as a prehistoric refuge. It is a biological time capsule that has protected ancient life forms from global extinction events for over 65 million years. As the escalation of these discoveries continued, researchers realized that these ancient lineages possess unique physiological structures that challenge the very laws of modern biochemistry.
The proteins isolated from the deep channel hunters do not degrade under thermal stress, and the neural tracking cells of the blind riverbed fish operate on a frequency that shields them from natural electromagnetic interference.
Evolutionary biologists are now racing against time to map these genomic blueprints before these hyper-isolated dark zones undergo irreversible shifts due to tectonic microfractures in the South American plate. If these deep water trenches compress or shift, these prehistoric oxygenation levels will vanish, destroying a millions of years old evolutionary lineage before humanity can decode how their cellular survival functions.
Every expedition into the deep mud layer uncovers a genetic architecture that is completely alien to the surface world, pointing toward an underlying balance of power that is far more unstable than anyone suspected.
The biggest revelation, however, was saved for the final analysis of the eDNA project. In the deepest, most inaccessible trench of the lower Amazon basin, scientists detected a massive concentration of a specific, unknown genetic signature. It was not scattered randomly throughout the river. It was concentrated in a single, massive underwater depression. The genetic data revealed that this organism is an incredibly massive, predatory reptile related to modern caimans, but vastly larger than anything currently recorded.
The footprint of its DNA suggests an animal that has managed to remain entirely hidden by living exclusively within the deep, high-pressure mud zones, never surfacing to breathe like modern reptiles. How can a large reptile survive without coming to the surface for oxygen?
Biologists hypothesize that this creature may have re-evolved a form of cutaneous respiration, absorbing oxygen directly through its skin from the highly oxygenated undercurrents of the deep river. Or perhaps its metabolism is so incredibly slow that it can remain submerged for weeks at a time. The existence of such a giant would completely upend our understanding of reptilian evolution and the limits of vertebrate survival. The evidence is clear. The genetic markers are there, floating in the water. The acoustic signatures continue to echo through the deep river monitors. The apex predators of the Amazon are not just the ones we can see hunting in the trees or basking on the mudflats. The true masters of the jungle are the ones that operate in the permanent shadow of the deep earth, surviving on strategies that seem completely alien to the modern world. But as the deep trenches continue to shift, and the ancient underground aquifers face unprecedented pressure from the surface world, these hidden titans are beginning to alter their patterns. The boundary between the known world and the prehistoric underworld is fracturing. We are left with a chilling realization about the true nature of Earth's wilderness. If an apex predator the size of a dinosaur can leave its genetic footprint in the world's most famous river, while remaining completely invisible to human eyes, what other ancient giants are currently watching us from the unexplored dark zones of our planet?